So yeah, about that review. Oh, hey Kras. Say Kras, how do you feel about the fact I'm playing a Spyro game before I'm playing a Kras game? Yeah, that's about what I thought. So, how about I make a new review after this and it's a Kras game? Great! It's a it's a deal then.
Do you ever have one of those games which you start a dozen, 100 times over, only for you to never actually quite beat it? I'm not talking about 100%ing it either. Games where you never find yourself challenging the final boss for one reason or another. Maybe you don't have a memory card, or a VMU, or what have you. Maybe you just get far in the game and accidentally delete your save file. That has happened to me once or twice, and it has sucked every time. But the truth is, up until a few years back, I had never beaten Spyro 3. You'd think that would make me not qualified to talk about the game. That the fact I put 3, 4, 5 hours into it, and yet never quite finished it, would mean that I am not in a position to discuss it. But the truth is that there is so much gameplay out in Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon, that those 5 or 6 hours of gameplay contained more meat than most other platformers of the time. But let's make one thing very clear, however. Though the game sits in my childhood as unbeaten, only vague memories of eventually getting to a monkey, playing as a yeti, and having children ninja help me along at one point. I have in fact quite beaten it quite a few times since. And the truth is, spoiler alert for the rest of the video, I find it one of the better 3D platformers on the console. And at the onset it had everything to go wrong. Coming off two massively successful games, one of which many people still call the best Spyro game ever. The team at Insomniac, which would later go on to work at Ratchet and Clank, had found itself a bit creatively tapped out. Per their own admission. In fact, this would be their last Spyro game, the last one they worked on. Sequels in video games tend to have this mentality of bigger, more characters, more levels, bigger worlds, and we can see that with some other games of Sonic Adventure, how adding more characters can dilute the gameplay experience. Luckily, however, that doesn't happen here, and I think it happens for one very simple reason. Each world might add a character to unlock, but they all fit in the gameplay of the Spyro game series up to that point perfectly. Sure, an FPS might seem like an odd choice, and Stars and Bird might be clunky to control at times, but while they're different gameplay styles, they still stick to the general gameplay. Collect EX, do a series of mini tasks to get them, try to get as many as possible. It helps that the general spark health system, where you have several hits as indicated by the color of your dragonfly, remains intact in those levels, even out on the fact that you can regain health by feeding it. Sparks, who in this game has a minigame of its own, involving a twin stick shooter, only without using both analogs because you know it was the PSX. From one of the major innovations that was brought to Spyro 3 was the dynamic difficulty. What does this mean? It means that if you're good at the game, like really good, enemies get harder and the gameplay gets harder. It adjusts your level skill uh, to your skill level basically, and while this means that if you die repeatedly, you can find yourself having an easier time. What's the fun in that? It's an addition that I think contributes to make Spyro 3 all the more replayable. You can swim, shoot, dodge, and roll all you want, but thanks to this system, every single attempt at playing through the game is different. I might be playing well, greater than any time I've ever beaten the game, only to be confronted with a challenge that pushes me back. From those annoying weeks that go na 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 and get faster if you're playing well to the dragons that you can't quite seem to hit sometimes. It pays off to play just a little bit poorly, but that is something that I don't find myself doing too often. I'm aware of this system, and coming back to the game after years, when I had only played it as a kid, I found it so much harder than I was used to. My skills at video games had improved, has had my movements become more precise, but I found that the game, given how I was playing, provided a healthy challenge. Outreach is helped along by great controls. One other game I had as a child, The Lion King, Simba's Mighty Adventure, featured another favorite character, and he controlled almost like a tank. There's no such tank controls here, with Spyro, who is responsive to controls and quick to stop. As I said earlier, he can jump, swim, sing, fly, and punch throughout, and it's out charging like a bow, ready to impale someone. You can't exactly turn back, so you're mostly set on a course. But none of such mistakes I made that resulted in me failing were on me. With a jump glide, and that with the extra push, I always found myself reaching where I wanted to reach. And though there is a lot of game, I mean a lot of game, and I can easily spend 1 or 2 hours each day and still take a week to beat it, it was a joy to beat it again. Nowadays, one is probably best served with the Spyro Reignited trilogy, which looks great and controls even better, with the advancements that were just not available on the PSX era. But I always have some support for Spyro 3. After all, it was the game where I spent hours skateboarding, despite the fact I had Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Just screw Moneybags. Seriously, fuck him.